I'm gonna go over real quickly like some of the fundamental like mechanics, and then I'm gonna go over a few things in videos that show off those mechanics. Um, First, I'm gonna start with pocket healing. So for pocket healing, one of the things that in my mind is like like the biggest problem I think, or the biggest opportunity I guess, is people don't have binds set up. So um, I have these just bound to these like characters, but I have these bound to mouse buttons on my thumb. Essentially 1, 2, 3, 4, mouse button 1, 2, 3, 4 on my thumb. That allows me to quickly select, like you see I'm selecting members on the left side of the screen very quickly. I'm not rolling a mouse wheel. If I had more people in my group, I could easily jump between the first person and the last person. Whereas if you're mouse wheel scrolling, it's more difficult to like make a snap change of target, which is key in a war. To be able, like every moment you delay is another chance that person's going to die. So I use the Razer Naga Pro because it has I use a 6 thumb button setup. Some healers I've seen online use like C, F, V, and B on the keyboard. If that works for you, that could work too. But basically, find some way to bind those. It's probably the biggest change you'll make if you're not doing that already. That will improve you. Um, on top of that, the other things to note, you have your target self, left control. If you're not doing that, like definitely do that. It's the fastest way to heal yourself. You see, I just pump heals on myself. I can run around and just, when my heal's up, just crack a quick heal on myself. No problem. It's very fast. Much faster than targeting yourself and then trying to crack a heal off. And then the other important thing here is exit auto target. So, and I'll show you my healing settings real quick. These things are important to have set right too. So, targeted healing should be on. Uh, Sticky lock should be on. Manual target lock should be on, and group mode should be off. Group mode is what people used to use to heal when they scroll healed. Essentially, when you scroll your mouse, it scrolls through. So you'll see when I scroll, it's scrolling through like different people in front of me, not just my team, like even these other guys like New Jelly and Zytor. You'll see it scrolling through all of those people, not just my team. That's what group mode off does. The reason why that's good is this is literally the only way you can heal outside your party, which is occasionally very useful. It sucks to have to watch somebody run right by you and die because you can't figure out how to heal them because they're not in your group. So yeah, group heal mode off works well with targeting. So I can target, I can heal like Nevitz, for instance, real quick. But then if this guy runs by this Zytor or whatever, I can hit my drop targeting button, and you'll see my target disappears there, and then I can just hit this guy real quick. Or if I want to heal a clump over here that's not my party, I can go ahead and drop a heal on them real quickly. Nothing to do with my group. So it allows you to quickly like target heal, but still like target your team members quickly, which is like, all in all for the win. So that's kind of some things with targeting. Oh, one more thing. I can also start a heal on like, let's say Jabadiah and then change it to Skitty. If he, like say Jabadiah pops a pot mid-heal and I don't want to waste that heal and I don't want to stop it and restart it. So I'm going to start a heal on Jabadiah and then I'll just switch it to Skitty. So it just hit Skitty instead. So like mid-cast, you can be like, oh dang, Jabadiah's health just popped up, but Skitty's about to die. I can save all that time in having to stop a heal, start on a new person. Could maybe like an extra second of time getting that heal off. Another thing is if nobody needs a heal and you start a heal, like I start on Skitty and he gets healed, I can stop it with block or dodge. So let's say I start this heal and then I just hit block and see I didn't use my heal. It's still off cooldown. I can say, hey, Skitty doesn't need a heal. Let's stop that real quick. Or I can dodge if I need to dodge also. That's another acceptable way. See, I just dodged out of it. So I didn't use my heal cooldown. It's still up if somebody else gets low. But I didn't, it's really effective to cancel or redirect your heals if you need to mid-fight. What else? So I went over how to drop sticky targeting to heal outside your group. Like I said, you can heal this guy here just by looking at him, or this clump over here that's not in my group. Communication. So the other thing you want to do when you're in your groups, and I'll show a demonstration of this in the video, it's the job of a pocket healer to kind of dictate the area of the map that you want your team to be. And I'll use words like, hey, we're all going to go over by bonfire, or we're all going to go to 12 o'clock. And if you're not familiar with like the clock orientation of a point, 12 o'clock is usually opposite of where you spawn. So like if you're at war camp, 12 o'clock is at the fort, 6 o'clock is towards the war camp side of point. Frequently we'll say, hey, we're going over to like 9 o'clock on the point, which is, the left side of point as you're looking at it. And then my group knows, hey, if I want to be healed, I better get my ass over to the left side of point, because the last thing you want to be as a healer is, somebody way over there, somebody way over there, somebody way over there, and you're trying to run around and pop a heal off here and there. People are going to die if you're doing that. Like, keep your group reasonably wrangled in. Let them know if they go out of range. Obviously, if I try to target somebody and I go out of range, they turn red. See how Nevitz just turned red on my screen, his target. Now I know he's out of range. Even if I don't know where he is, I can say, Nevitz, you're out of range. I'm at 9 o'clock. And I'm not going to go, unless I really need to get to Nevitz, then I can bring up my map or I can look around for him. But chances are I need to keep these other people alive, and I'm just going to let Nevitz know, hey, he's too far, and make it his responsibility to get back to me. You know, especially if there's 4 other people with you, 3 other people with you, and he's off somewhere else. Just let him know and move on. Don't concern yourself with it. And usually I tell somebody if they're off doing that, let me know when you come back in range, because I'm not going to be looking at him anymore. If he drops, I'm going to let him drop until he tells me I'm back in range, because I don't have time to check every 2 seconds to see if he's back, unless I happen to see him run up or something. Healers should be in charge of that, like positioning, communication. Bruisers can be in charge of like the engages, like throw a grav well, we're hitting this point. Healers should be in charge of, get your ass over here. You're too far away. Here's where I'm at. You should always be letting your people know where you're at, and them know if it's a problem where they're at, so that they're aware. Don't just let them die without ever saying anything to them about being out of line of sight or out of range or something. The last important thing for a pocket healer is survival. You really have 3 options. Well, really 4. So you have Rapier, Greatsword, Hatchet are all survival offhands, and then you have Void Gauntlet. I think the most common survival offhand for a pocket right now is Rapier. The other ones can be effective, but I'm not going to talk too much about them because I don't play them very often. Void Gauntlet is absolutely the best healing offhand. You'll pump out way more healing if you're Void Gauntlet. And what I usually tell my group, or what I've told them many times, is if the enemy team is bad enough that they're going to let me play Void Gauntlet as a pocket, I'm going to play it because I'm going to double my healing. And why not if they're not killing me? But if they're killing me, it's my responsibility to keep my ass up, and then I need to make sure that I'm wearing an offhand that will keep me alive, such as the Rapier. And Rapier's pretty easy to use. I mean, you riposte when somebody's swinging at you, you dodge out of things, and you can flichet to get away or through people. It's a pretty simple tool to use.
One thing I'll point out, Taass is an expert healer that's fielded probably thousands of hours of wars. He has the option to swap to Void Gauntlet as a pocket, but if you're new or if you're still learning wars, I would stay as a Rapier or some kind of survivability so that you don't just die, because he's been playing a long time, and he can survive as a Void Gauntlet. Once you get to that spot where you're feeling comfortable enough, like he said, that you can drop the Rapier for a Void Gauntlet, by all means. But until you're at that point, I would rather have you go Rapier.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't even go it if I know the competition is stiff. I only go it if I know I can get away with it, which is... So yeah, definitely start with the Rapier, play with the Rapier. If you get really, really good, nobody's going to argue with you if you can live with something else. But yeah, that's a good place to start.
Good night, guys.
And the Rapier came into play because it never was the meta. In fact, it was really weird that healers were ever in light when the, well, obviously there was nerfs and everything, but the Rapier came into play when more and more wars had dive teams as a common thing, and you could easily catch any healer that basically is not using a Rapier. And we always caught healers as dive team back in the day. There was nothing they could do. But when they nerfed the armor situation to where light armor is now the only way to actually get good enough heals, you became squishier, and like using a hammer or an ice gauntlet or anything else basically besides a fucking Rapier, you put yourself at serious risk. And yeah, that's why the Rapier came into play. Rapier OP.
Yeah, it's the way to go if you want to survive right now. And honestly, unless you're like very good at playing pocket already, I would just start with that and stick with that until some people just use it forever.
Yeah.
I'm going to show here 2 videos. These are from I promise it's not all my videos, but this happens to be from my point of view, and this is against Trap Chat. And I'm going to show a few things. I'll pause and tell you what I'm trying to show. I'm going to show mainly like how I'm keeping an eye on my team, how I'm talking to them, so you'll be able to hear the comms about where I'm at and where we're moving to and things like that. That kind of thing. So
Zach, if you can see me, run with.
you don't hear anything at all?
Nope.
Okay.
I think you're streaming your monitor.
Maybe Mike. Yeah.
You have to stream your
You may have to capture the whole window.
the application it's playing in.
Okay, let me change it. Stop streaming.
So if it was
Okay.
just stream the browser.
Here you go. Okay. Hopefully. Can you hear now?
Thank you, Taass.
Yeah, I can hear it.
Get out of here though. I'm good now.
Yeah, that's not bad.
So I don't know where you're at. I'm at there 12 o'clock. See, I let
Yeah,
Jack know
I
that
see you, Taass.
I couldn't reach him. I'm not too
I'm
concerned
on
about
the
finding
road.
him. I'm just healing
Keep
sleepy
sleepy
now.
alive.
I got
Say
a
it.
sacred on you, Imbar. I called my sacred on
I'm
Imbar
like
so he
sleepy.
knows
I'm
that
behind
the one
them
popped
on the
on him is one he
backside
can
of
use.
Yeah, I don't know if
I
you
let
see,
him know where
sleepy,
I'm
I'm right
at.
next to him.
Like I'm at 12. Yeah, I see you. But somebody should come over here with me because I'm getting.
You're in the
never
worst
mind.
nightmare
Yeah.
spot
I'm
right
down.
now too.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
tried
don't
to
know.
get to you.
Yeah, that's
That's
true. Yeah.
Goblet.
Mainly that I was trying to go over there is like the communication back and forth. Here's where I am. Here's where you are. We're moving here. I'm popping sacred on you. That's really the types of things you should be saying in there is like, where are you at? Where am I at? Who sacred's on is important because like a brawler has no idea who sacred is whose. They see an enemy sacred pop, they see your sacred pop, they don't know which one is which. If you let them know a sacred's under you, they know that green spot that just appeared is a good one and I should hang out in it versus I should run out of it, or it's not useful to me. That's the only really healed you need to call. Besides like positioning, it's important to also call like, here's where we're going, you're out of range, that kind of thing. Here's another one. I think this one should. In this one, there's a lot of pressure on me, and I rotate around the point, and there's some rapier work in here too, so you could see a little survival mechanics going on here. I think we get. I can't remember, but I think we might get wiped here, so it should be a fun one. This is the initial engage of a war too, so this is right off the bat. Great, I got hit by a frost.
Go deep. I see you, EO.
I'm going over to.
So I'm circling
the
the
point.
Other
I see
guy's
you.
trying to get our back line.
I'm
Oh, I
healing
see
that
him.
clump right there.
Oh shit!
Trying to keep my brawlers
Dude.
up in the clump bar. This is
Yeah.
older, so I've
That's
got
you.
like lights and brace. Don't use that anymore.
Take light.
I'm just
Yeah,
about
he's
to
gotten
start
better with
back
his
line right now.
stamina.
There's a ton of people.
Yeah, I see you.
Yeah.
Now as well.
I'm on Zadie. Well, yeah, and I didn't even have Nasty Norton on me. Hardy
Bad
Betty,
machine.
but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
but you see me rotating
Yeah,
the
the
point
Almas
as I'm
does.
getting pressure,
Yep.
finding another safe position where I can still get a hold of my brawlers. Area heal on you, EO.
I'm welling on me.
Shoot.
This clump on the point.
And then I think there's some
I
rapier
got
chase
gravel.
coming up. I'm out.
Lay that
Bouncing.
on
I have a healer son, Kiwi.
You
He's out
you
of
just got out of
range.
range.
Oh
I
shit.
told him he got a range, and I
Yo,
kind of
Oh,
chased
out of
him.
range.
you died.
Here
Okay,
it comes
there's
bad
one.
for me, I
I mean,
think,
I'll
and I
get
have to
taken
get
out
getting
of
trolled
the
back
brawl.
here. Here we go.
FYI.
So
Hi,
I turn and riposte all these
Any
guys
life?
right there, and then
Yeah,
bring
yeah.
them out. That was like about 6 guys on me there. Yep, I'm kind of in their back line. So
on
you
the
can do
back,
cool things with
I
Rapier.
see you
guys over there by bonfire. I'm headed.
You die now though on that.
This is where we want to play, right? Or
Yeah.
further up?
I
He's
actually
done
do
it.
to muskets. I
don't care
soon.
where you play as long
Yeah,
as
No,
I'm
no,
here.
I mean,
I'm down.
now if
I
you
got
were to
musketed.
repost that many people, you'll
Jesus.
Yeah,
Get
could
to,
be.
yeah,
Could
we
be.
can-
It is
you don't get the
changed.
immunity after
Yeah.
the repost. I think that was
Yeah, so
This goes good.
anyway, you see like a lot of movement, a lot of pivoting, a lot of getting out of stuff while still trying to keep your people in. That's kind of the point of that one.
Can I comment on what I feel is like one of the most important things that you did there? I mean, you said it, you rotated, but like if you notice, he's sitting actually with the enemy. If you guys ever take a look around in a war, sometimes you'll see that often. Like healers will just be in our back line.
Oh yeah.
chilling.
Yeah, they're
It's
standing right
actually
there,
the
free casting,
safest
safe.
fucking place when you're a defender.
Yeah, our bruisers won't be there, so
Yeah.
it's only schizos you gotta watch for.
Yeah,
But he
people would always
rotates-
say I'm getting killed in the back line. I tell them there shouldn't be a back line.
There should
Where
never
is
be
the
a
back
line.
line? Like get out of that spot.
just
If
making
it's
it
like
easier for their
if it's like
backline
murder
guys.
zone, yeah. We
Yeah,
don't want
if
our
you
healers all
can-
clumped up in one spot waiting to get murdered. That's like the worst
Whatever
thing ever.
you defined in your head to be the back line by yourself, then don't be wherever it is you defined. You know what I mean? Like just don't be there. That's exactly where they're going to look at you first. But what I want to point out is that I want everybody to do this. If you ever get pressured, especially if you're a ranged or a healer, you always want to rotate either in one of 3 ways. Well, A, always rotate clockwise or counterclockwise around the point, period. And B, you always want to rotate typically, unless you don't have an option, but typically into your army or into your team, whichever is
Yep, towards
first.
your color, wherever they're coming from.
And the last thing is that you're rotating towards some direction of the point, because if you were to back up towards the fort or into the grass or forest or wherever it may be, if you go away from the point in any direction, then whoever's on you, you just literally gave them a 1v1 scenario. And that's what they're looking for.
Yep,
If
and you're
you
back.
drag a schizo into your army, he'll probably leave you alone.
Yeah, running to your teammates is way better than running off into Never Never Land. 1, because you can't heal your teammates anymore if you run the opposite direction, and 2, because they can support you. Like find a friendly pile. I'll even run through a clump if I have to, versus letting a like schizo sit on me. Like chances are he's not going to chase me through the clump. Or if he does, he might die going through the clump. Whereas I have a rapier, I can get through that clump. He probably will die if he tries to chase me right through the middle of the clump. And if he doesn't, he might lose track of me in the clump. So, yeah, a group of people is your friend. Running off into the woods is not your friend. And it makes you useless anyway. Like if he chases you and you run off into the woods, he's done his job. He's deleted a healer from the fight. You're not dead, but he's essentially deleted you. Everyone in your group isn't getting heals anymore.
And they might only be like 8 of you or something on the roster, so he's taking a good chunk of the healers out doing it.
Yeah, good shot. If you run the other way, your whole group dies while you're trying to survive. It's much better to run towards them. This is okay. So next I'm going to talk about AoE healing. The biggest difference, I think, the biggest problem I see with AoE healing with our company, but maybe in general, is that AoE healers have to change their entire mentality. They're not healing their 5-man. You can forget about who's in this 5-man. Just delete it from your head. Don't care. You're never going to target any of them. You're not going to go look for them. Your job is to heal, to watch the framework of the fight in front of you and find the fights and heal those fights. Who cares who's in them, right? You just see like here's a fight evolving right here. He's going to go support this fight, and you'll see nowhere in this whole video does he target any of these people or care about where these people are. That's not his job. His job is to pump as much healing as he can into the where the fights are occurring for his army. And so That's the biggest difference I see is that I've seen AoE healers in some of the VODs that aren't very good that think they're pocket healers. They will run around, sacred on Fat Saiyan or whatever, somebody in their group. No, forget about it. If you have a pocket healer in your group, that's their job. Your job is not to follow them. Your job is to throw it where the fights are. So, and then another thing about AoE healers is they run all instant heals. They're not casted heals. You can roll around like a crazy person. You can pling things. You can be in the fight. There is no need for you to be sitting back really far back. You should be in where the heals are so that you're getting heals off the AoE heals. You should be closer to the fight. You should be rolling around plenty. You shouldn't be stopping hardly ever because you don't want to be easily targeted as a healer. And if you need more stamina, you can drop Oblivion if you're running Void. This guy's not running Void, but the next video is. If you're running Void, you can drop Oblivion. That gives you stam regen too, so that you can roll around some more, and also refreshing evasion to lower your cooldowns. Essentially, you're just pumping out all of your cooldowns as fast as you can. And this is from Baboon Banana's stream. He's a really good healer. So you'll see he's targeting that clump. He sees some action going on over here. He's getting up the hill with the group. He doesn't care about where his group is. He sees a fight evolving and he gets himself in there to heal it. Whomever it is, who cares? And he's not using targeted healing at all. Like he's just finding clump, throwing stuff on the clump. He throws sacreds on whoever's in front of him in a clump. Like he'll come sacred this group down here, boom. He just throws sacred, not on any one particular person, just on a fight that was evolving.
It's like they're at the bleeding edge of the two groups as they're hitting each other.
Yeah, he's positioning all of his heals where they can hit the most blue players that are engaging in a fight. He's rolling around plenty, keeping himself alive. He's using the wall right now to avoid muskets a little bit because he's real close to it. Now he's kind of repositioning over here to this right fight. So anyway, I'm not going to show his whole clip, but I mean, the whole time he's just kind of getting heals out where they need to be into these group fights and supporting them, regardless of who's in them. Like I said, a good AoE healer plays almost like a solo player. Doesn't matter where his group is, really. Now, we do put them with like group 1, 2, 3. That's for positioning. Like if we rotate group 1 and 2 to a position, the AoE healer should go with that group generally, but no paying attention to who's in this 5-man, really. It's really just getting it out to whomever he can heal most effectively as quickly as possible.
One thing that I think this really shows is how important it is for that main ball to stay close. Like if you're just a mob that goes through there, your AoE healer can really put down effective heals on you. If the main ball gets spread out to where you're bigger than what a sacred is, then you're not going to get the heals.
Ticks.
Yeah, he's just ticking. Essentially, you can almost entirely judge an AoE healer by the numbers they put up, because that's their entire job. Heal as much of your army as often as you can. Pump as much healing as you possibly can. That's the one charter for an AoE healer, and he's on top, I think, just right there. He just showed, but that's
numbers.
Oh yeah, so for a pocket healer, 1 to 1.5 million a war is really good. For a AoE healer, I'd say 2.5 million or more is pretty good. No shot you should be coming in with 1 million healing as an AoE healer. Like unless it's a total like scuff war, like our group is just getting demolished over and over again. But if it's a relatively even war, yeah, 2 million or more is easily. And I've seen AoE healers put up 4 million, no problem.
But I also noticed since he's not in a group, when he gets targeted or he knows someone's focusing on him, he runs towards the clump army. He doesn't like run away. He goes inward toward the army to try to pull him off of him.
And he's constantly moving. He's not sitting in one spot until somebody finds him. He's like back and forth around, following the clumps, moving. You should never be stationary as a AoE healer. I'm gonna stop this video because I have one more that's a little bit different. This one is, I don't even know who the hell this guy is, but he's running Void, because I honestly think our AoE healers should be running Void. You pretty much double your healing as Void. the trade-off here is obviously if you can't stay alive, you need to get back to Rapier. But if you can stay alive, this is the one healer you want pumping Void if they can. And every time I AoE heal, I run Void. So you'll see this guy, he's kind of like, again, finding the clumps and nailing the clumps with stuff. He rotated down here because he heard the bee call and the doors. So he's kind of like firing everything he can into these groups on the doors. Just mass healing. Who cares who he's healing? He's just getting it out there, right, to everybody on those fights. And then another thing is, like, he just threw his Void. Try to make your Void hit you on the way back, because you'll need top-up heals, and that starts a heal over time on you as well. So that way you don't have to worry about your health as much, and you can stay closer to the fights. Don't be afraid to get in your own heals. Like, walk forward into your own beacon, walk forward into your own sacred. Make sure your orb hits you, and just stay really close to the fights. Roll back and forth. That's kind of how you want to see an AoE healer healing, is this right here. Just making sure it happens on these points. Go ahead.
You're noticing him not using his Oblivion and Scream, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but I do know that although it would have been really beneficial for him to get up there and drop that Oblivion, but when you use a Void Gauntlet as your secondary, it sucks the fucking mana out of you. And like, yeah, and so like, I mean, you can pop a pot, but like then that's slowing down your rotation and whatnot. So he's being very conservative about when he uses those two abilities.
So when I play it, I use my Oblivion almost on cooldown, and I just pop pots. The reason for that is Oblivion gives you stamina regen, and stamina gives me more chances to roll, and rolling gives me more refreshing evasion, faster cooldowns. So I can pump heals even harder when I'm doing it. But I drop them literally just right under my feet. So I'm using it as like a little stamina puddle, essentially, to like roll around in and get my cooldowns back up again. So especially when I'm out of cooldowns, like I don't have anything I can hit, I'll Oblivion and roll back and forth a little bit, and it will get my, you'll see my cooldowns drop like crazy when I do that. That's only important if you're running refreshing evasion on some of your gear. But a lot of AoE healers run a lot of a refreshing evasion for that reason. But yeah, Scream is absolutely defensive. Like you're not going to run up there unless you're like with a group and they're chasing and you can catch somebody with it, maybe. But usually it's defensive, purely defensive, because it's literally your only defense when you're running Void. So anyway, that's kind of how that plays. Yeah, that's about all I got.
I think, did you have something, Rapier?
No, I was.
So I think, overall,